Welcome to the Luncheonette Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Redding. I am here with Lauren Lewis, Michelle Marie. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Doing good. I'm excited about today's topic. It's gonna be fun.
I am too. And our topic today is Mr. Patrick LeFils. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you actually said it right. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Not too many people do.
Nice. In my phone, you're Patrick Southern Fellow, even though I do know your last name.
He is in mine too.
Probably in a lot of people's phones.
Most people just call me like Southern Fellow. There's some people.
You
that
are
just like
the Southern Fellow.
Yeah.
So that's actually a great title. If I could be just the Southern Fellow, I think I would be probably honored. It would be like a nice little like classic gentlemanly title, the Southern Fellow, you know?
Yeah, but if I knew what Southern Fellow was going to be when I got started with it, I probably would have had a different name. I don't know.
No way.
It's cute.
I think it's great.
It's very family.
Yeah.
It feels like a family.
It feels family. And that's what you do. And actually that is the topic of today. We have Patrick here because he is going to tell us about Southern Fellow because you are being honored at the end of this month up in Nashville for the Josie Awards. And we just want to hear all about that. And for people who don't know sort of what Patrick does, I just want to hear all about it. Tell our viewers about you.
Southern Fellow, I started about 4 years ago. We're fixing to have our 5th anniversary in March. So I'm looking forward to that. But originally I started out just doing food. If you don't know it, about 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, I started having seizures. And because of that, I was a chef at the time and a rancher and all that good stuff where you, if something happened where you fell or something like that would be catastrophic.
Right.
So I couldn't do what I normally did. And a few friends of mine reached out and they're like, hey, recipe websites are really hot right now. Maybe you should do something like that. So that's what I did. I started a recipe website called Southern Fellow. And I didn't think much of it. It was just something I couldn't work. I couldn't do some things that I was used to doing. So I was like, this is a good way to keep my mind active and doing something. So I did that. About 6 months into that, a bluegrass artist, she was in Colorado at the time, Erin Pete Lukes, she reached out to me about one of my recipes on Instagram. And so we started talking, and she was like, hey, I'm a bluegrass artist in Colorado. And a few minutes into the interview, or a few minutes into the conversation, I kind of realized that she was like itching for an interview. She was like itching to do something with me. And, I didn't know anything about the music business or, music at the time. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Wish you well, all the niceties that people say when they don't want to do something.
So you didn't at the beginning, you didn't have anything to do with music.
At the beginning, I did not have
anything. It was
anything
only food.
It was only food.
Wow.
So my conscience got the better of me because I was doing for a few days. I'm like, what's going to hurt for me to do an interview with this girl,
Yeah.
So I called her back because she gave me her number. And I was like, okay, I have an idea. I still need to do my food because I was doing pretty good on Pinterest and all that with the recipes. So I was like, I still need my recipe. So I got this idea. Let's do an interview with you and your band, and then I'll come up with a recipe kind of inspired about you in that interview, and I'll post it to my website, and you'll have your interview, and I have my recipe, and this completely one-off thing will be done and over with, and my conscience will be clean.
Do you remember what it was?
Yes, it was. It was a sandwich. I can't remember. It was like a cherry barbecue poor boy or something like that.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, I love that.
But anyhow, so I did that interview, and I didn't look back, didn't think about it, and literally 2 weeks later, I received 3 phone calls from 2 publicists and artists in Nashville that came across this completely random thing that I did. And they're like, okay, how do we sign up for this? Because, this is unique and, we don't see this in the music industry. Like, this is a good way to cross-promote, with people looking for that. So I was like, when they brought it up, I was like, that's a good question. I don't know how to continue from here. And so one of the publicists, she kind of talked me through what I needed to do. And so so I started doing these little, interviews and recipe things, and that's kind of what started Southern Fellow. And it took me a while to get into the music side of thing. It's still weird now, like you mentioned before. I'm up for I'm nominated for Music Business of the Year at the Jersey Music Awards, and it's just such a weird chain of events to go from ranching to cooking to being known in the music industry.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. All in the span of just a few years.
Yeah, on the span of
almost 5 years. I mean, that's
5 years. Yeah,
that's really nice.
5 years ago, did you ever see yourself in the music business at all? Like before, did you ever like?
No, I had no dream. Like it was just like it took a couple years of doing Southern Fellow to catch up on things and be like, okay, now this is a business. Now I'm doing music. Now I gotta learn about the industry. That I'm involved with. So I went to a friend of mine's are good friends with Rick Barker. So they connected me with Rick Barker, who was Taylor Swift's first manager for a couple albums. And, he's like, hey, come to my songwriting retreat. I'm doing one in Orlando. So I did a 3-day songwriting retreat in Orlando. Had no idea how to write songs, nothing like that. So I'm doing breakout groups, and, there's people of all ages there, but mostly young kids. There's this girl next to me that was like 15. I'm like, I feel like I'm in high school again because I'm like cheating off her. Like, oh, that's Nashville scale. Okay, that's how that works. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
The
number system?
Yeah.
Nashville number system?
Yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
Nashville
Yeah, you're learning that?
That's the bane of my existence.
Yes.
What? I love it.
I'm dyslexic.
Me too, actually.
So, no, like, seriously dyslexic. So the Nashville number system is just, like, the bane of my existence.
Well, I'm sorry to turn this conversation into this. Like, I can't read this, like, music staff because of my dyslexia, but numbers work for me.
I'm the opposite.
That's funny. That is funny. But back to Patrick. So you went into it almost as, did you ever think you were going to be a songwriter, or did you just think that would help you relate to other artists?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in an industry that I didn't know nothing about.
Right.
And writing about people that were, very knowledgeable about what they were doing, and that kind of thing. So I didn't want to. When I first got started, it was very awkward to be in that situation of them telling me stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, like that kind of thing. So
well, that's impressive. I mean, you did your homework.
Yeah. I just it just, like I said, it was very uncomfortable for me to have a conversation with somebody, and then because I got a few, some of my first artists, are now big artists. Tucker Wetmore, the Wild Feathers. I was getting interviews from some big artists, and I felt really stupid to be interviewing somebody that I only knew half of their life, because I didn't know the music side of it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So yeah, I just I take a crash course in the music industry and all that kind of stuff, and to my benefit, I think, even though it was hard for me, is being an outsider. People in Nashville either love me or they hate me because I look at things differently, and I don't look at things the way,
through the Nashville lens.
Through the Nashville lens.
Good for you.
So people, either you love me or hate me for that. But so yeah, that's how I got into the music industry.
So did you already have a background in business, or did you have to learn that as well?
I owned I've had a couple of businesses. I had a catering company. I did I had a premium cigar company for a little bit, but a lot of that's vastly different than the music industry. And when we started doing shows, it's like, how do we pay for this? I want to pay the artist. How do we pay for this? And working on getting sponsors and selling tickets, and y'all talk about artists hearing no. I've heard a lot of no's here in Daytona Beach. Especially when we talk about wanting to do original music showcases. Again, that's my naive look at things. I didn't look at it as I knew that cover bands were going to make money.
Right.
I didn't look at it from necessarily a business aspect. I look at it as, hey, I have a lot of people that I've interviewed. I want them to get them gigs. I want them to play their music. I want people to hear their music. So that's what I'm going to do. you know, I didn't. I didn't.
You're very much a diamond in the rough because a lot of people in your position are very money oriented and you're very artist oriented.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
true.
as artists, that's what makes us so thankful to have somebody like you. And I think it is a breath of fresh air for the industry to have somebody not look through that Nashville lens.
Yeah. And I'll say too, you know, you've brought me into like a meeting or two where Patrick turns into a shark. I mean, he's like,
Really?
he knows his stuff. Yeah. It was kind of early on from meeting you. I didn't know what to expect. And then we got in the meeting and he really, really knew his stuff to where I was like, oh, what? Wow, this is actually bigger than I thought. You know, it's actually a very serious thing that you take very seriously, and you know both sides now. Now you know the business and the music side, and it's really cool to see too. You know, and you know, I've been connected with you for a few years now, and even like in that few years, you know, you've grown a whole lot on the music side. At least you already knew way more about business than I ever knew, so that was always impressive to me. But we even brought you in on a writing session recently too, and
I've
that
been
was
part
cool
of,
too.
I think 10 writing sessions,
Wow.
and it's just crazy to even you know, be involved with that kind of stuff. And again, you know, I can read sheet music. I played piano for 8 years 6 years as a kid. Not that I wouldn't call myself a musician, but I still understand, you know, sheet music, and I still know where middle C is, and you know, all that good stuff that you need to know with the piano. But yeah, no, I really wish I could songwrite. I really, you know, as far as like the music part of it, the actually instrument part of it. But yeah, I don't think my brain's there. I don't know.
It's not for everybody, and not only that, like solo writing isn't for everybody either. But can you tell us what the Josie Awards is? Because I wasn't familiar about it.
I'd like to. All I know is that you get to go to the Grand Ole Opry and walk the red carpet. I want to know what we're supporting you for.
You could look at the Josie Music Awards as the CMAs for independent artists. That's what the Josie Music Awards are basically about.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
So it's all about independent artists, people, you know, in the business that like me that promote independent artists, and you know, radio stations and all that kind of stuff. And it's not just country music; they have multiple, you know, genre categories. But it's really a cool thing. It's my first time. I've, you know, known a lot of artists and worked with a lot of artists that's been there.
Have you been to one before, or is this your first time?
No, I've never been to one. This is my first time. This is my first time actually in the main part of the Grand Ole Opry. So, you know, it's funny because I never get to do the tourist stuff when I go to Nashville because I'm all the time doing my stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Business stuff.
yeah, so I'm stuck doing my shows and everything, and you know, there's been a few times where I've been able to, you know, slip out to the Bluebird Cafe or you know, walk down Broadway a couple of times. But, you know, I still haven't been to any of the museums or, you know,
Definitely got to check them out.
any
They're
of
fun.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but,
I did it one time.
you know, it's just crazy that I haven't done that. But hopefully one of these days we'll slow down.
Well, I mean, that's so cool. Is the Josie Awards like is it for also singers, like artists, or is it more for the people in the industry as well?
It's predominantly for artists. But,
okay.
They have some industry
And
categories.
what is your category?
Yeah.
Music Business of the Year.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Now, how did you get nominated for that? Did you have to submit yourself, or did somebody submit you on their behalf?
You can submit yourself. Somebody submitted me, like.
So this wasn't your doing.
Actually, a friend of mine, Christine from Southpaw, she just messaged me one day. She's like, "Congratulations on your nominations," and I'm like, "Or nomination?" I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Oh yeah, you're nominated for Music Business of the Year for Josie Music Awards." I'm like, "How?" You know,
That is
I don't know.
incredible.
You're on the website,
Good for
so you know, good luck. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So,
And what are some other music businesses that are
Nominated,
also
you know?
nominated?
I don't know any of the other businesses. I would have to look up the list. They're not anything that I'm familiar with, but there's only like 4 or 5 of us.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a small group.
No
so,
way.
Amazing. I'm
So-
so hyped for this. I'm so
Yeah.
excited
So
for
just
you.
being
Yeah.
nominated, and you know, I keep telling people, you know, that, you know, obviously everybody in this room knows. You know, I always refer to it as like the Southern Fellow family.
Mhm.
I keep joking with people that like if I win, I'm gonna have like everybody that's there from the family like storm the stage.
Oh yeah, for real.
And
I'd
if
be
you win,
so
you have to like
down.
speak for like 30 seconds or something like that. And
Are you preparing a speech?
You should
No.
prepare.
no,
Come on.
Well,
I think it's one of
can
those
be
things.
superstitious.
Yeah.
To prepare a speech can be superstitious, and it can be like some people think if I prepare a speech, I won't get the award. So I get that.
Yeah.
I do.
But I think it would be fun just to see like, you know, our name, you know, Southern Fellows name called and see like 50 people like walking up to the stage.
That is amazing. Well, we certainly hope that happens for you. I mean,
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all crossing our fingers.
Because honestly, I've never seen anything like it. Now, I haven't been an artist my whole life. I was more of the accompaniment musician for different artists, but you've been an artist for a long time. And I've never seen any one person try to unite so many different people from different states too.
I
you know,
agree
you're
with
talking
that.
about Southpaw. I mean, they're from
New
New
Jersey,
Jersey,
yeah.
you know, and then Nashville, and then Florida, obviously. And you know, the what you're doing is just like I've never even heard of it. So it's just amazing to see
and it's
to be a part of
groundbreaking.
it.
And it's
Yeah.
such a breath. Like I said, it's a breath of fresh air to have somebody that's there. Like I've never met somebody so for the artists
Yeah.
before. Like Patrick is so for the artists, and you don't find that. You find people about what can I get off the artist, not what can I do for the artists. And I think that's why so many people love you.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy helping people as much as I can. You know, like I feel like I can, you know, I still have that little issue where I don't feel like I'm really part of the music industry just yet, even though, you know, like, you know, we're winning awards at the Grand Ole Opry, but, or hopefully winning awards at the Grand Ole Opry. But I remember my first show in Nashville, which was the first show where I had a lot of artists coming that I never met. Like we've known each other for a year or two on Instagram, but we've never met. And, you know, I always thought it was going to be like the first day of school where it's just awkward and like, you know, you don't know if to shake hands, to hug, to, you know, it's awkward. And it was the weirdest experience because it was just like a continuation of what our relationship that we had online.
Great.
Like
Yeah.
it wasn't awkward. It wasn't, you know, just like that first day of school, like I keep saying. And it was just an amazing experience just to be able to continue like, yeah, no, we're friends. Like, you know, this is normal.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I think that's the energy you bring. And I
Absolutely.
think when you bring that energy, the other person is likely to match it. You know, if you come at it like I'm this shrewd businessman and you're intimidating, the artist might back up a little bit. But since you're very comfortable with
Absolutely.
people are really comfortable with you, you know.
yeah, I mean, let me tell you, I've had artists just spend an hour on the phone with me or, you know, around town, wherever we're meeting at, and just tell me, you know, their life story, you know, that they don't tell too many people. And it's like, I mean, I can, there's probably like, I don't know, 100 stories now that I have to take to my grave. but you know,
Keeper
it's-
of the secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things that's, you know, it's an amazing thing, but you definitely feel that weight. You definitely feel, you know, a little responsible for people and, you know, what they're doing. So, some say I carry that weight well.
Yeah.
To me, it's a daily struggle to keep everything balanced. But you know, it's something that I've learned to appreciate and you know, respect.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like you were in a way built for this? Like so many things in your life have like led you up to this moment. Like you were learning, you know, back when you were learning the business for your catering, when you were, you know, just sitting around enjoying music just as a listener. Do you think those things all came together and just now joined you and like you are now built for this kind of trajectory, like to just shoot you into this type of thing leading up to the Josie Awards?
No, I mean, there's a lot of things with Southern Fellow that came organically, but not in a business sense or, you know, had this dream that I was going to be able to pull it off. what happened was, I met somebody like you, I met somebody like Michelle, and I was like, oh, this is where they're struggling at. I think I can help them with that, or I think I can find somebody that can help them with that.
Yeah.
So, that part, was a little bit of a learning curve. And I think with any relationship, there's a lot of trust involved, and it takes time to build that trust. And, what we've done with Southern Fellow as far as building the family, not necessarily Southern Fellow, the business, it just had to grow on its own. That trust had to grow on its own, and not something that, I could put together, before having specific conversations with artists and things like that.
All right, you ask this question to everybody, so I want to ask it to you. Where do you see yourself in 2 to 5 years?
I don't know.
Good one.
I didn't know I was going to be here in 5 years. So
look how you got him.
But I really don't know. I mean, I want to do my goal. I would say my biggest goal in the next 5 years is to have something like the Bluebird Cafe or Whiskey Jam here in Central Florida.
I would
vibe.
So be here for it. Open up like a Songbird studio or something like that, right?
Yeah. There's some things in the works. I might be partnering with somebody that has the right venue for that vibe. But yeah, I mean, we're talking to some people. I'm talking to some guitar companies and things like that to hopefully get something sponsors and create partnerships that can make something sustainable. Where we're doing live original music, at least Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, like all day long.
Whoa.
Just
That'd
come
be cool.
in.
Yeah.
Be revolutionary for this area for sure.
Right. Yeah.
And not just Daytona, surrounding Florida areas, because the thing is with Whiskey Jam, people travel from everywhere to do it. So that would be amazing.
I mean, we're going to do food and, other things to help pay for, that type of venue. But yeah, that would be my long-term goal,
That's great.
That's a great goal.
To do something.
And that's cool that it still brings it back to food and music.
Yeah.
Being able to do that is, those are two of my favorite things ever. I love like good Southern food and good music.
Southern music.
Good Southern music. Yeah. So that's why it just worked out between us,
Well, that was the magic, because if I didn't have the food, Southern Fellow would not be, I would not be where I am today. And it wasn't planned. Like when I started, dealing with publicists and all that, they're like, this is genius. Like, you're awesome. I'm like, okay, yeah.
Felt kind of like imposter syndrome.
That's what I'm kind of thinking this whole time. Is just like you're almost like, what have I gotten myself into? I'm here. I'm gonna be in Nashville. I got nominated. None of this was supposed to be this way.
How did we get here?
What I found happened, like just writing about independent artists, would have been a big struggle. Like,
Too many people already do that.
No, just nobody's, not too many people in California have heard of Jordan Redding. Not too many people.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
I see what you're saying.
As far as getting, viewers to the website and, advertising dollars and all that kind of stuff that I do as a business. But with the recipes are really hot.
Universal.
If I make a recipe for beef stroganoff, there's millions of people looking for recipes for beef stroganoff. Now that I attach an artist to that, now there's a good percentage. And luckily with Southern Fellow, we've had an 80% normally crossover to the recipe to the artist. So because of the recipe, people are kind of in a sneaky way learning about new independent artists that they didn't know about before. Through a recipe.
It really is a great idea.
It's very smart. It is so smart.
Yeah, and sometimes you need that person who, it's like if you would have worked your whole career doing something that was a little more mainstream and like, this is the way we do it like this, maybe you wouldn't have had that idea. But since you came out of left field and that was like probably your first idea or something like that, that's what made it so different and so creative, because you weren't doing the norm, going the same road everyone else is taking. You just did your own thing, and that's where the creativity came from. That's really cool.
And
think about it that way.
It goes kind of. I remember my first time in Nashville. I was like, I'm going to this creative area, and I've heard of the Bluebird Cafe and all these amazing things. And I walked into my hotel room, and like, I'm looking at all the dudes, and I'm like, they're all dressed the same.
Creative, huh?
They're wearing the same type of shirt, just different colors. They're wearing the same jeans. They're wearing the same chukka boots. I'm like, I'm wearing a cowboy hat. I thought I was gonna fit in. I'm like, I'm the different one.
You're the weird one
with the Texas bow tie, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm just wearing a cowboy hat and everything, and I ended up coming with this phrase that I tell a lot of artists. I'm like, because I deal with a lot of young female artists, and they're like, I want to be the next Taylor Swift. I'm like, don't be the next Taylor Swift. Be the next you. Mm-hmm. In order to be different, you have to be different. Taylor Swift is.
She's already Taylor Swift.
That ship has sailed.
Yeah.
So, for you to copy her and do the hair cut and, kind of, market yourself in a similar manner, I don't think that's the best thing for an artist to do.
It's true.
Just be you. And, we had a conversation earlier about Priscilla Block, and one of our many phone calls was just be you. You're not 112 pounds. That's it.
Own it.
Own it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look like Jordan Redding. I own it. I mean, there's only.
I don't look like Blake Shelton. It's just.
There's only so much things you can do. Within your ability, but outside of your ability, you don't worry about it. But if that's my advice to people. Be you. If you want to be different, be different,
mm-hmm.
and don't try to follow somebody else's path.
Yeah, that's great. And, it's just been a real pleasure to now work with you, doing the podcast, being together on certain events and stuff like that. I ran sound for the New Queens of Country that one time. And that's another thing he does is just like put together all these artists where maybe the venue wouldn't have said yes. Wouldn't have hired them, mm-hmm. Because they do original music or, mm-hmm. Whatever it may be. And you got them in there, and it was just cool to see. Like it was like an all women's thing. So, it was cool. Like you're just looking out for people. You're like giving people the opportunity that maybe that person didn't have even the connection to get into that place, or
well, that's
want to, but not realizing that is a good spot for them to play.
That's something that I learned when I was in the premium cigar business. A white guy in the premium cigar business is an oddity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, you've been around the block.
But just, a white redneck, you're just such a novelty in the cigar business. A lot of people are Hispanic, I mean, there's white people, but, Jewish, a white Catholic guy that's a redneck. That's the big standout thing in the cigar business. So, it was awkward, and there's prejudice in a lot of areas, so a lot of people told me no. And, I was like, in order for this to work, I have to get them to say yes. I have to turn this around to where they're saying yes. And, some people gave me the opportunity because, I'm a novelty, like, oh, look at this redneck cracker, like this is gonna be funny. We're gonna set him up and see if he sinks or swims. So that was the way I learned how to deal with rejection, and go into venues and tell them that you're going to do an original showcase and all this kind of stuff. If somebody told me no, I was like, why not? Why give this a try? You're going to throw another cover band up here tonight that everybody's seen 500,000 times already? Do something different. And sometimes it worked out. Sometimes, when we first got started, there was 2 people in the audience, and, they're looking at me like, yeah, we can't do this again. And I'm like, well, at least you tried. I really appreciate you, giving me the opportunity.
And that is nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But, then we circle back at those venues. Now that we have a little bit of a following, I'm actually one of the largest media outlets for independent artists in the country. We have about 250,000 people visiting the website every month.
Amazing.
And so I'm excited about that. Again, I didn't know too much about that until one of my publicist friends reached out to me like, "Oh, you're doing really good on your website." But yeah, so I'm proud of that. And, unfortunately, going back to our hometown here of Daytona Beach, Daytona's way down on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens a lot of
Way down
times.
on that list.
Yeah.
So sad. But again, us artists appreciate you trying to bring that lifestyle to our hometown. And coming it from the female lens, because you talk about you work with a lot of females. As a female, it is so hard sometimes to go in unrepresented. So what you do for us as a whole, we're all very, very thankful.
Yeah, I always make a joke when I start out with, especially New Queens of Country Showcase. I'm like, I'm going to say this because I'm a guy and I can't say it. but it's true. I say it as a joke, but it's true, that women have it harder than a lot of male artists.
Especially in country music.
And
When you
especially
listen
country music,
to the radio, 90% of the radio catalog is male country music.
Mm.
The market for female country music is like 100 times more cutthroat.
Yeah, and just, booking shows and working with artists, I know for a fact on the back end, there's female artists that make half of a male artist. I know venues that'll book a male artist for, $600, whatever. But they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll try her. We'll give her like $200,
I've been there.
Let's try that, I'm not saying that all guys have it easy or, that they don't have their struggles, but women have some very specific struggles and some things that is very hard to overcome in the music industry and specifically in the country music genre, for sure.
Wow. Yeah. I'm unaware of that, so seeing you've been mentioning that for a couple of years, but once again, how nice is it that you're the one to really lead so many different artists and female artists. Here's what you can do, and what you do is you set an example too. You're I'm going to get you you're going to perform at this place. And then once that happens, they can reach out independently and be like, "Hey, I played here during the Southern Fellow event. Let me play here again." And you just open that door for so many people.
For many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think, if there's any venues out there listening, if you own a wine bar or restaurant that does live music or any place that does live music, if you have a corporate party, just give people a chance. There's a lot of different artists out there. I don't want to say good or bad, but, I'm happy to say that in our family, we're in the Southern Fellow scheme of things, everybody that's participated and, that we've featured on the website, it's just, I prefer to call them professional artists because there's just a difference between somebody that does it all the time and that's 100% of their passion than to a lawyer that's hey, we got a jazz band that we played Thursday night at a place, I mean, that's a fun thing, but it's not,
There's a difference between doing it as a hobby and doing it as a career.
Yeah, the passion and the whole vibe is completely different. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not knocking them. I know people to do
people love that. It's
open mic things and stuff like that. But let me tell you right now, if you deal with a professional musician at your venue, somebody that does it full time, that's their number one thing. It's a different show. It's a different show.
Well, Patrick, is there anything else you want to tell us and the viewers? You're excited for the Josie Awards. Is there anything else that you want to let us know?
Support live music in Daytona Beach. And then we got our two shows in Nashville at Nash House, the 25th and the 26th, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., both of those shows. 24 artists over 2 days. It's going to be crazy fun.
It's going to be fun.
Nice.
It's going to be a great
day. Can't wait to be a part of it.
Yeah, so thank y'all guys for having me on my own podcast.
And thank you for letting me guest interview. It's been fun.
Course,
it's been so much
Michelle
fun.
Marie.
Michelle Marie made a beautiful guest host, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you. Thank you. And, of course, Lauren Lewis. That's the other thing, too, is just how you bring people together. Now I feel like I'm family with Lauren now, It's I wouldn't have necessarily known you before, and now here we are, this team and, bringing artists in. It's really wonderful to be a part of. I just can't stress enough how much it feels like a family. So I think everyone involved can attest to that.
Lauren's regretting a few life choices right now. But
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. I'm so glad we could sit here and learn a little bit more about you. Thank you for listening, y'all.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.